Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We are back here on YouTube, and this week we're spending some time looking at utilizing our tool more effectively by beginning the process of grabbing the water, starting with the blade tip. It's a common coaching cue to hear, wait to put pressure on your tool until the entire blade is already in the water. And effectively what we're looking for is the act of the blade going into the water is an additional force that we can use to help propel us forward. Then when the entire blade's in the water, we can continue to put more and more pressure on it. In many scenarios, if you are racing against somebody that is waiting until the whole blade is in the water before they're utilizing their tool, and you are grabbing the water the moment you start to make contact with the water, you have a huge advantage over them. We're gonna spend some time going over some of the cues that signify that you are doing this, understanding why we wanna do this, and correlating that to incentivizing other motions that we wanna go through within the paddle stroke. So we always hear we want the blade to go into the water silently. And this is a very dramatic word because silent implies that there is no sound at all. And when we're taking paddle strokes and trying to go fast, there is an element of being aggressive with the motion. And this aggressiveness is going to interact with the water in a very similar way. The only way we can be silent with a paddle stroke is by not putting any energy into the stroke. So this is a demonstration you can do with your hand or a paddle or any tool. Trying to put your whole hand into the water without making any sound and being silent, the only way you can achieve that is by putting it in slowly with no force behind it. If you were to aggressively put your hand into the water, you are going to have some sort of a resistance that poses itself from the water. You may have a little splash or a small sound that is going to come from the force entering into the water. This relationship occurs because there is tension on the surface of the water, and we want to interact with that surface tension using our tool. And when we do that, we're going to disrupt some of that water as we are putting force into it. The only way to get around this surface tension is by not having any force as we go into the water each time. And this signifies that we have not connected with the water even though we are in contact with the water. So when you take paddle strokes, you're going to see that you are going to actually make a little ripple effect on the top of the water here, and there's going to be some disruption as the blade goes into the water. Again, we are aggressively trying to put a lot of energy into the water as quickly as we can. And going in silently signifies that we are not moving fast, that we're moving slowly, and we are not transferring force. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if the paddle is to slap the water, you are going to make an audible splash where the water droplets are going to go vertical. This is the cue that silent catching is trying to fix, is that we don't want to splash on the top of the water. So it comes down to a timing. When the blade tip starts to touch the water, we can begin pressing down on it, going through our rotation, starting your leg drive. All of this is going to push and break that surface tension downward. You will hear a disruption of the water at the surface, and that's fine, right? We want that energy going down into the water. If we slap and we pull too early in that process, the water is going to explode, and that is an inefficiency in our energy transfer. So that concept is crucial in understanding the next step, which is understanding when your stroke begins. When we're looking at this, we want the stroke to commence the moment the blade tip touches the water. So when you create positive blade angle in the air, the blade tip is going to touch very far in front of you. If in our mind, we don't think the stroke starts until the entire blade is in the water, the incentive to be in this position is useless because we're waiting until the whole blade is in the water somewhere here. Now the incentive to go right into the water at this point presents itself. So paddlers will try to rush to put the blade in at a neutral angle, much closer to them, and it robs them of the ability to rotate. If we are starting the stroke when the blade tip touches water, there is more of an incentive for me to swivel my shoulders, because you can see the paddle is going to end up further in front of me. If I'm thinking the blade is going to go into the water here each time, my rotation is going to close itself off every stroke. And it's just understanding how we want to approach the stroke that opens up a position that looks like this, as opposed to a position that would look something like this. The act of putting the blade into the water will move the vessel forward. The blade is going to go into the water one way or another. You might as well use your tool in a way that gives you a little bit of a boost from this. And this is an easy one to practice. If you're just sitting and you put the blade into the water silently, you will notice that you're not going to go anywhere. The act of putting the blade in the water has not propelled you forward at all. Now when we're setting up, if you begin pressing down on the blade to insert the blade into the water in front of you, as you do that process, you will feel the vessel start to move forward ever so slightly. This little boost that you're getting is something that you can add to every single stroke that you are going to take. And in a game of inches or centimeters, this becomes invaluable in time trial situations or any racing context, being able to get more out of the stroke at the front, as opposed to bypassing it and missing all of that potential opportunity. It's up to you, the user, to feel these ideas. You are trying to connect your body and energy into a stick and trying to feel the stick interact with a liquid. And being able to feel pressure with the very blade tip at the end is tricky. There's not a lot of surface area here for you to make this connection with. It is easier to find pressure with the entire blade in the water, but finding it with the very blade tip, the front 20%, the next 50%, all of this has a potential to move your vessel forward if you can connect through your tool and activate it. And of course, once you're in the stroke where the entire blade's in the water, now you can push through and complete the stroke very similar to somebody that is starting their stroke there. But now at this point, this is almost halfway through your stroke. And the final benefit from this is your ability to sprint and paddle at a high stroke rate now becomes increasingly varied. Because you're getting so much in putting the blade into the water, you now have the opportunity to start the exit process almost when the entire blade's in the water and bring the stroke rate up in an incredibly high rate. It's just another tool that you can put into your arsenal where you're going to paddle faster with more upfront strokes, or you can take the full entire stroke, whatever the situation allows for. If we're putting the entire blade in and not getting much out of it before that point, I can't exit until I go much further back into the stroke, so you're kind of locked into this. If the act of putting the blade into the water has propelled you a sizable difference, now you can begin another motion into the next stroke. Watching paddlers that are sprinting or trying to catch into a wave, you will see them do some of these ideas. You have to master a concept, put it into practice, and then you can use it at your disposal when the situation arises. So the idea is to use your tool just a little bit more efficiently, and by understanding that, you can open up your ability to rotate just a little more and get more from your stroke. And from there, you can pivot that into more complex paddle stroke ideas. Thank you all so much for checking out the video this week. If there are any topics that you would like to see discussed, please leave a comment or send a message anytime. If you would like more in-depth help with your paddle stroke and having a coach working with you directly, check out the K2NOnlinePaddleSchool.com today. We have coaching programs where I will write you weekly workouts as well as look at your paddle stroke via video reviews. And we have 300 videos including drills, off the water exercises, and on the water technique ideas to help you put all these complex ideas together. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our channel members, and their names are going to appear here. Becoming a channel member is $2.99 a month here on YouTube, and it allows you to see these videos a few weeks early. If you had signed up for the channel membership, you got to see this video about 3 or 4 weeks early. It's only a small perk, but it helps keep this channel growing. If you would like to make time to come here to Hernando, Florida and do some clinics or lessons or group paddling, feel free to reach out anytime to help schedule with that. If you would like me to come to you and teach people in your area, feel free to send an email. We can try to help set that up. I'm willing to travel the whole world. Thank you all again. If you have not subscribed, don't forget to do so, and we'll see you all next week for the next paddle tip video.